In the previous tutorial, we talked about Laravel framework, how to install it, an introduction to MVC architecture, created routes, controllers, and views. In this tutorial, we will talk about models, database migrations, and make CRUD operations on Todos table. With MySQL, CRUD means create, read, update, and delete from a database. Before creating migrations, we will need to set up our database. Assuming you know how to create a database using php-myadmin. After creating the database, we will add the database credentials in our application. Laravel has a .env environment file which will have all the sensitive data like database credentials, mail driver credentials, etc. because it's not recommended to store such information directly inside the code. Environment files are not limited to PHP. They are used in all other major frameworks. Values inside the .env files are loaded inside the files from the config directory. .env file is located at the root of our application. Let's take a look at the file. All app values are loaded in app.php config file and db values in database.php file inside config directory. Remember, whenever you making changes to .env file, then don't forget to restart the server if you are using Laravel dev server. And if you are using a virtual host and changes don't seem to take effect, then just run php artisan config clear. This command will clear the configuration cache in your terminal. Since we have set up our database, now let's take a look at database migrations. Migration are used to store the details about a database table and its properties, so you don't have to manually create all the tables by going to the database interface. Or something like php-myadmin. We can create migrations using artisan with make migration command. So, type this command in your terminal. php artisan make migration create _todos table. In Laravel, the name of the model has to be singular, and the name of the migration should be plural, so it can automatically find the table name. You can find these migration files in database, then migrations directory. Laravel by default comes with two migrations, namely users and password_resets. All migration files are prepended with a timestamp, which are used for authentication. If you want to create a migration but have a different table name in mind, then you can explicitly define the table name with --create flag. So, in your terminal type this command, php artisan make migration create _todos table --create equals todos. Now going back to our IDE and open up the create _todos table.php inside our migrations directory of database. You will see two methods, up and down. Up is used for creating or updating tables, columns, and indexes. The down method is used for reversing the operation done by up method. So, examine this code. Inside up method, we have schema create with two parameters table_name and callback method which will be used for creating a new table. Inside the callback, we have $table big increments with id parameter which will create an auto_increment integer column with a primary key and argument id is the name of the column. Second one is $table to timestamps which will create two timestamp columns created _ at and updated _ at. Created _ at will be filled when a row is created and updated _ at when a row is updated. We will add two columns title and body for the sake of simplicity, but if you want to know the available columns types, then see the list in Laravel documentation page or search with Laravel migrations. Let's define some column here. You can also specify length to a string column as the second argument. Before running any migration commands, we need to add a line of code inside the app service provider.php which can be found in app. Then providers directory. Open the file and inside the boot method, add this. This code will set the default length of a string column to 191. Since Laravel comes with UTF-8 MB4 charset as default, which supports emojis and its max length for a unique key is 191. If it exceeds the limit, then Laravel will generate an error and won't run migrations. If you want to specify a different charset, then you can set it in database.php config file. Now, go to the terminal to run migrations. We can use Migrate Command like this. php artisan migrate. This command will run the migrations and create all the tables. It will execute the up method. If you want to reverse the migrations, you can use Migrate Rollback command, which will execute down method. For example, php artisan migrate rollback. After creating the tables, we will create model that will interact with the database resource table. For example, post model for posts table. To create a model, we simply need to run make model command like this. php artisan make model Todo. We can also add -m flag, which will create a model as well as a migration for it. For example, php artisan make model Todo -m. This command will also create a migrating named create_todos_ table. You can find all the models inside the app directory. Now all the basic stuff is done. Let's start creating views for our to-dos and add functionality to our to-dos controller. We will have 4 views: index, create, edit, and show. So let's create a folder named to-dos inside the views directory and create all those 4 views. After that, we will first create the controller. php artisan make controller todos controller -r. Note that we have also added a -r flag, which will define 6 methods inside the todos controller. Let's open todos controller in our IDE, and you can see index method used for displaying a list of to-dos. Create method will show a view with form for creating a Todo. Store method used for creating a Todo inside the database. Create method submits to store method. Show method will display a specified Todo. Edit method will show a form for editing a Todo. Form will be filled with the existing Todo data. Update method used for updating a Todo inside the database. Edit submits to update method. Destroy method used for deleting a specified Todo. These methods are not specific to Todos controller. It can be used for posts controller, comments controller, or any other resource. A resource is an object, in other words. User, Todo, or anything else. Let's add the roots to our web.php files. We can pass dynamic parameters with curly braces. And you might have noticed that show, update, and destroy has the same URL, but different methods. So it's legit. Just like -r flag. Laravel has a method called resource that will generate all the above roots. You can also use that method instead of specifying them individually. After defining roots, we need to add the links to our navbar. So, Open the navbar, blade.php view inside the inc folder. And update that, which has the links for the right side of our navbar. Now open the TodosController. So we can modify our index method. We are retrieving all the to-dos with Todo model. And ordering by created _ at column in descending order. Then we are chaining it with paginate, which will create pagination links. And by default the items displayed per page is 15. After retrieving to-dos, we are returning a view with $todos array. We can pass data to a view by passing an array of data as a second parameter to the view method. If you don't want use array syntax, you can use compact method which will accept multiple arguments as a string. So, let's change it to compact method with todos string. Now, we can add the markup to our index view inside the todos folder. Inside the content section, we are using @for_else loop to iterate to-dos. And content inside the @empty works as an else statement. If an array or collection is empty, Blade has @for, @foreach, and @while loops too. Of course, you need to end this @for_else with @endforelse. Inside @for_else, we have some HTML markup and you can see that we are echoing $todo object properties. str_limit is a helper function used to limit the number of string characters. And diff for humans is used for displaying date in a more readable format. For example, 1 day ago or 1 month ago. We are displaying the pagination links with $todos to links. By default, Laravel supports Bootstrap Pagination. But if you are using a different framework, like Materialize CSS, then you can specify custom pagination view. Inside the links method, Laravel already comes with some default pagination views. You can publish these pagination views with this command: php artisan vendor publish tag equals Laravel pagination. This command will copy the pagination views to our views vendor pagination directory. Then you can specify the view like this. There will be more than one pagination views. However, you can customize the view you like. Now, When you navigate to Todos page, you will see Nothing found. Since there are no to-dos in the database, we will create them now. Let's modify the create method of TodosController, which will simply return a view with a form for creating a Todo. Let's add this markup to create view inside the Todos folder. Now we have a form with post method. Submitting to a name root Todos store. Inside the form, we have at CSRF. It will generate a hidden input named CSRF_token, which is important for security. And without that, you will not be able to submit a form. You will see a page with page expired text. After form submission or a 419 error page. Old field_name is a helper function used for echoing the old values from a submitted form. In other words, if you failed the validation and got redirected back to the form, then you will need those values that were previously filled. Validation errors can be accessed by $errors object. To check for validation failure, we can use $errors to has field_name and $errors to first field_name. Will echo the first validation error. Field name is the value of the name attribute defined in our input fields. In our form, we have title and body fields. Let's modify the store method of our TodosController, which will store the Todo to the database. Store method has request object as a parameter which will be used to access form data. First thing you want to do is validate the form data. We can use the request to validate method for validation, which will receive an array of validation rules. Validation rules is an associative array. Key will be the field name, and value would be the validation rules. Second parameter is an optional array for custom validation messages. Rules are separated with pipe sign. We are using the most basic validation rules. First is required, which means the field name should not be empty. String means it should be a string value. Min is the limit of minimum characters for a string in an input field. And max is the maximum characters. Unique, table, column, see if the same value does not exist in the database. Comes handy for storing emails or any other unique data. If validation fails, then it will redirect us back. After validation, we create a new object of the Todo model. Since Todo and request are both objects, we can access their properties with arrow operator. After specifying the values to the model properties, we can call the save method, which will save the Todo to the database. When a Todo is successfully created, then we are redirecting the user to a specific route and chaining it by with method, which will make the data available for the next request, so we can use it as a flash message. Since this will be stored in session, we can access the value with session status, as well as check if the value exists. Some methods for accessing form values that are useful. Helpful redirecting methods. We also need to display the message as Bootstrap Alert. So, open the app, blade.php layout file so we can make this alert available in every view. And add this code right after the app.js script. Let's add a little CSS in the tag for our alert. So, let's open the show, blade.php, and add this code. All that's different in our view is that this time we have a single Todo. And since it's a single object, we don't need a loop. There's an update button. That will open the Edit Todo view. And there's also a delete button. That will open the modal for confirmation. And when you click the Proceed button, it will submit a hidden form. Having an id of delete form. We will work on destroy method after show method. We are making a delete request when deleting a specific resource. So, simple anchor tag will not work. And a form is needed. Since HTML forms only support get and post methods, we will need to add it method delete, which will generate an input field with a value of delete, put for updating a resource. Let's modify the show method in TodosController. To get a specific resource with an ID column, we can use find or fail method. This method will throw a 404 error if it fails to find the resource. If you want to find a resource by a different column, then you can use where method with column and value argument and chain it to first or fail method. For example, $todo equals Todo where an opening parenthesis title comma this is title closing parenthesis an arrow operator first or fail. We have already created a button in the show view that submits to this method. Now we can modify the destroy method that is responsible for deleting the Todo. And all we need to do in this method is fetch the specified Todo and call delete method on it. Edit method is same as show method. Just views are different. Because we will display the values of our Todo object in an HTML form. Let's add the markup for our last view edit.blade.php file. This view is the same as the create.blade.php file. The difference is that it's submitting to update method of TodosController having a method put inside the form. We are also echoing the values from the $post in the input field with a ternary operator. And if validation fails, then we will have old value instead of $post values. Lastly, the update method of our TodosController, which is same as store, but we are updating an existing resource. There is a scenario when you want to update the Todo body, but not title. Then you will get a validation error saying the title should be unique. In these cases we can specify the ID of that model to ignore. Now we can create, display all Todos, display a single Todo, update them, and lastly delete them. Oops! We got an error. Missing required parameters in index.blade.php file. Let's fix it. Going back to IDE and add the Todo ID inside our root method. Now going back to our browser. And create another Todo. We can see a nice alert box which will automatically close after 3 seconds. Now let's click on Read More button. We can edit and delete to-dos from here. Let's edit this Todo. And delete it. Next tutorial will be on authentication and middleware. You can find GitHub repository link in description. Feel free to comment below. Please subscribe my channel and click on the bell icon for upcoming video tutorials.